Just got a nice car wash. Damn, I love this car, guys. I love this car. Guys, check this out. I got a hat for the hat for Know Me.
Hey.
Doesn't that look good? So NIO stock has crashed 87% from where it was at the very peak to where it is now. What is going on right here in China? Today we're going to answer that question. Will NIO survive? What's going on? Now, if you're one of those super hype fanboys that can't see reality and just in your own dream world, you know who I'm talking about, then click off this video because you guys can't handle the truth. I'm not trying to say NIO is bad, but the reality is very different from what you guys have in mind. If you can't accept a dose of reality, please click off this video. All right, I guess all of you guys that are still on this video live in reality. But first, I suggest you guys download the NIO app. Since NIO is giving away so many freebies, shareholders are paying for it, why don't you guys claim a stake of it as well? You get 200 points when you just sign up, and then an extra 200 points when you use my code LEGPC7. And every day, just log in, collect your login rewards, and you'll have enough points to buy a free coffee at one of those NIO houses. Or if you collect your points over time, you can get some NIO merch. And if you buy a car, which I hope you guys do, you'll get a lot more NIO points. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about. And guys, I do not want to make this kind of video. I've been holding it off for a very long time. But there are still people that refuse to accept reality. And these guys gotta be disciplined, man. They gotta be disciplined. So the first thing that I want to talk about, there's so much stuff to talk about, is the problem of the entire EV market being highly homogeneous. This is something that William Li mentioned during his annual letter. It's not coming from me. It's just reality. It's the way it is. What do I mean by highly homogeneous? And what does William Li mean by highly homogeneous? Well, what you're seeing is every single EV out there has the same chips as NIO does. 8155 chips. They all have LiDAR. They all have NVIDIA's Orin chips to process autonomous data. As per William Li's words, it's become increasingly difficult to stand out from the crowd. Now, I've argued time and time again that NIO's battery swap is its excellent moat, and offering it for free, although it does incur a lot of cash burn, a ton of cash burn, that is NIO's biggest moat. And if you've seen my previous video about top 5 reasons to buy a NIO, number 1 and number 2 were all battery swap. But that's just a big problem to get us started. Everybody has the same chips. Everybody has the same LiDAR. Everybody has Orin processing chips. We'll come back to this a bit later. But another thing you notice is, and something that investors get upset about, is NIO's low delivery volume. Like, one week they might only deliver 2,000 some vehicles, or the other week 3,000 something vehicles, and you guys get very upset with this kind of numbers. But I gotta remind you, NIO's cars are extremely expensive. They're just crazy expensive. The starting price of an ET5 is 50% more expensive than the starting price of a Model 3. I recently had a friend who really wanted to buy a NIO. She test drove the ET7, she test drove the ES7. In the end, she went and bought a Model 3. Why? Because of better software and cheaper price. We'll come back to software in a bit. The other thing you got to think about is, and a lot of you guys are going to argue against me on this, but this is just the reality. I don't decide the reality, is the fact that Li Auto is taking away customers from NIO. All you guys, hype boy, dream boys, thinking, oh, Li Auto hybrid, it's not EV, it's hybrid. You know, to the Chinese consumer here in China, anything with a big battery and electric motors is pretty much a new energy vehicle. And I actually went and verified. So yesterday I went and got a drink with the NIO manager. We got our NIO manager over here, and look at the drinks we got. Holy smokes. This is the new spring drink. We don't know what it's called. And then they actually changed the cookies. Oh my God, look at that. Crisp cookie. Used to be Biscoff cookies. This is gonna be really nice. And not alcoholic, of course. It was just one of their special spring beverages. Very nice, very delicious. And we talked about a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff, and also what's going on with sales. And case in point, I asked him whether or not Li Auto was taking away sales from NIO, and he said convincingly yes. And he told me one story and one exact customer that really just, shook me up as well. So he had a female customer that was interested in a NIO and was comparing it against the Li Auto. And She wanted an SUV, so she was test driving the ES7. The ES7, keep in mind, starts at 450k RMB, and at the end of the day, she went and bought a Li Auto L8. The reasoning for this was what she told the NIO manager was that, first of all, the Li Auto L8 starts at 350k, so right off the bat, you save 100k by buying the Li Auto L8. And to her, in her opinion, she thinks the Li Auto L8 is even more comfortable and more luxurious than the ES7. So why should I pay extra for something that I think is inferior? That's not me saying this, okay? But when it comes to performance, of course, Li Auto's L8 is nowhere near the performance of the ES7. ES7, you get from 0 to 100 in like under 4 seconds. But she doesn't need that. When she test drove the ES7, she set the, right here, you can actually set the acceleration time. She set the acceleration time to 7.9 seconds. And in the Li Auto L8, it's like 5-something seconds, 5.6 seconds, 0 to 100. And that's plenty enough. She doesn't even need that. So there's no reason for her to have that much performance. She's not like running away from her boyfriend or something. So from a consumer's mindset, I pay less for something that's more comfortable and more luxurious, in her opinion, of course. So she went and bought the L8. And this is really just unbelievable for a lot of Western people that aren't Chinese and not in China. And it's the fact that the consumer needs have really changed. You know, people, like a lot of my fans were arguing, oh, it's all about tech and all about tech. I can tell you that the age of tech has passed. China is ahead of every other country in terms of tech. That is just my personal experience with how advanced WeChat is, how advanced Alipay is. Not to insult the other countries. People would compare tech back in like 2020, 2021. But now, 2022, 2023, what do people compare? They compare headroom. EVs have become just another transportation tool. Nothing, not high tech at all. They don't give a damn about tech. Headroom, comfort, luxuriousness, usability, that kind of stuff has become the primary concern of customers. And they're making their purchase decisions based on that, which I think personally is very stupid, but it's China, guys. They do a lot of dumb things in China. And then going back to how William Li said the market is very homogenous. Cars have almost become like Android phones right now, EVs. You know, they all have the same chip, Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 or 8 Gen 2 chips, and then one is slightly faster than the other. This one has battery swap. Oh, that one also has battery swap. Oh, this one has better cameras, better LiDAR. It sees farther, better, higher megapixel cameras. But you gotta see, at the end of the day, customers might not choose the phone with like the highest megapixel count, the one that can see the furthest. Why do customers choose Apple? They like the overall experience of owning an Apple phone. But the iPhone might not be the fastest performing phone out there. It might not have the highest megapixel count out there. It might not have the highest battery count out there. And I'm not trying to say which car company is like Apple. I'm just trying to make the point that EVs here in China have pretty much become almost like how people treat Android phones. So there's a lot of choice here in China. There's so many EV companies. The one differentiating factor for most of them is actually software. Like how my friend went and bought a Tesla because of software. Software is something that NIO really needs to work on. And I think NIO is really behind on software. Recently, there was a video by Unbox Therapy how a Tesla was running Crysis 3. And I actually told the NIO manager about it, showed him the video as well, and he was pretty impressed as well. You know, before working 7 years at NIO, he worked 5 years at Tesla. He was pretty impressed as well, and I just made the joke to him, you know, when are we going to get Tetris on our NIOs? And, you know, we got the vertical screen, right? Vertical screen, the one thing where vertical screens are bad at movies, but we're good at Tetris. Give us Tetris at least. So that was kind of a joke I made with him. But on a more serious note, another point that software really needs work is the LiDAR system. Now, ET7 was announced in NIO Day 2020 with the LiDAR and the NAD, but NAD is nowhere near ready. NIO Autonomous Driving, nowhere near ready. And just recently, in 2023, 1.5 months back, they finally released NOP Plus beta for NT 2.0 cars. And that means they could finally do auto lane changes. Beta in 2023. when you announced the thing on NIO Day 2020. So you can imagine how long it's taken them just to get auto lane change in. And on top of that, it's not me hating on NIO, guys. Again, there was an independent test by Dong Chedi, which is a very big YouTube channel. They're almost like just car review channel in China, very big. And they did this highway autopilot testing between Xpeng G9, Li Auto, and then also a ET7 with the NOP+. I'll first say the good things. The good thing is the ET7 was really quick and precise in switching lanes to overtake vehicles. Very nice, and it knew what it was going to do. It knew what it wanted to do, so it had a very good experience overtaking other cars on the highway to get up to speed. But the one thing that they noticed, and this has also always been a weakness for NIOs, even on my NIO with NIO Pilot, the full NIO Pilot package. And by the way, my car is the NT 1.0 EC6. It does not have the LiDAR, but somehow they still have the same weakness on the second generation cars. And that is when a truck, and this is in their video, when a truck cut into their lane, the car was able to see it, but somehow did not do any sort of braking and almost hit the truck on the highway. And the driver had to manually press the brakes to like slow the car down. And that was obviously not good. It's not saying the whole NIO Pilot thing is bad. I'm just saying there's still work to be done on the software side. The other thing that's really that you guys have just, not to insult you guys, but you guys have no idea how aggressive the price war here in China is. Price war is just so crazy. There's so many EV makers, they're all cutting prices. There's so many gasoline vehicle makers, they're all cutting prices. And one thing that really kind of hurt NIO in terms of sales is, of course, the loss of the national subsidy, the national EV subsidy. Last year, it was around 12,000 RMB, which is a decent chunk of money. But this year, it's gone. You would think that this affects all the EVs, but actually, it hurts NIO more. And let me explain why. If we compare purchasing a Tesla and a NIO in 2022 versus purchasing it now in 2023, here is the biggest difference. So, everybody suffered a loss of the EV credit, right? So the EVs got more expensive, right? EVs got more expensive. In 2023, they got more expensive, but Tesla severely cut prices. So boom, Tesla's prices are down here. So in comparison to 2022, NIO's car got more expensive because of the loss of the EV credit, and Tesla's car got cheaper compared to 2022 because of price cuts. So there's an even bigger gap, and makes the Tesla cars even more attractive while making NIO cars less accessible because of the high prices. Now, obviously, NIO has made a few adjustments, offering discounts and also offering 0% down, which is also really nice. And man, the amount of discounts NIO has is pretty insane. And the NIO manager told me this nice little secret, and I guess you guys will hate it or like it, but this is a way to get maximum discount, and obviously it is by buying a showroom car. But what you didn't know is that even if it's on the showroom floor for one day, you can get a big discount. That's pretty insane to think about. So the secret, he told me, is to purchase a NIO vehicle, not through the app, but a showroom car that's been on the showroom for one day or a couple days. So that's pretty nice. But you guys are probably wondering what's causing this whole entire price war. Why are people cutting prices so aggressively? And it's because of the economy here in China. Now, you guys don't live in China. You guys might know or might not know this. About 70% of Chinese wealth is tied to real estate. And quite recently, real estate has been crashing like crazy here in China. Some places crashed by more than 80%, especially more rural areas. And a lot of other major cities also got hit really hard with the real estate crash. And there's a huge amount of foreclosures here in China. And this is pretty intense stuff because I've been seeing some of these people and what they have to go through. So they pay something like 600,000 for the down payment, and then they have like 1 million RMB in loan from the bank, and that's over however many years. But what ends up happening is they pay their monthly mortgage payments, and apparently that mostly goes towards the interest. So at the end of 5 or 6 years, you're still left with a lot of principal that you still have to pay off. And there was this one guy, he missed 1 month of payment because his business suffered and they had to close down, and he got sued by the bank. His house got foreclosed. All his bank accounts were frozen. He could not use any money in the bank. Even his WeChat Pay and Alipay were frozen as well. And they were going to sell his house in an auction. And the starting price was like $700K or something. If the house was sold at that price, that means he loses his entire $600K down payment, which is down the drain. And that's gone, completely gone. And that $700K money from the sale of the house, that goes to the bank loan, and he would still owe the bank 300K RMB. So he got no house, his down payment is gone, and he still owes the bank 300K RMB. That's how insane this whole thing is. All his hard work and money gone, and he still owes the bank. And you're not zero, you still owe the bank 300K. And this isn't just happening to one guy. It's happening to a lot of people here in China. And what ends up happening is the amount of money, disposable income that people have isn't that much. A lot of people are in debt, like crazy amount of in debt. And that in return means that their budget for buying a car is also much less and much lower. Car companies need to meet that budget in order for their cars to sell, so they gotta lower prices. Real estate does factor in a lot to people's wealth. The other thing we have to keep in mind is that back in 2021, 2020, we had a chip shortage, we had a lot of supply shortage, and right now what we have is oversupply. There's way too many cars and people are trying to get rid of them and lower demand, so you gotta cut price. Now if you look at it from a surface level, NIO has lost a ton of money. Many people are worried that NIO is gonna go bankrupt, they won't survive. I'm not a financial advisor, but I think NIO will not go bankrupt. All right, we've been through this back in 2019, even though I didn't make my channel back then, but back then I've been following NIO since like early 2018, January 2018. That was when I was first introduced to the brand, and I can tell you, well, in my opinion, NIO is not gonna go bankrupt. But is this the bottom right now? That I cannot say for sure. You know, I have been predicting 8 for over a year now. 1 year ago, a lot of people have been insulting me for 8. 1-8. I'll tattoo your name on my ass if it goes to 8. And a lot of people doubting me and hating on me and insulting me. And look, it's nothing personal, all right? It's just the way I see things happening and playing out here in China that I personally have no control over, and that ultimately will also hit the stock price, and also a lot of other reasons, technical analysis as well, that will cause stock price to go down. So we've been hovering 8 for the past couple of days, and I've had a stock price target of 5 since it was at 13. And a lot of people were hating on me. Oh, no way it can go to 5. No way it can go to 13. But look at what people are saying now. Look at the comments, what people are saying now. People are saying, oh, NIO's going to be bankrupt. NIO's going to, too many freebies. They're going to go away. I personally don't think NIO will go bankrupt. But again, this might not be the final bottom. Another thing that I have to mention is how NIO actually has been known for their quality. And for me, I have never had any sort of big malfunction on the car. Sometimes some software glitches, but that's normal. But the car in general, very good quality. And year after year, NIO has ranked #1 in terms of quality. This year, 2022, when they launched ET7 and ET5, the first generation of NT 2.0 vehicles had a lot of problems, and that kind of lowered their rating, their quality ratings. That definitely does impact their word of mouth, but I'm sure NIO will bounce back because their cars are really good quality cars. There's also an insane conspiracy theory that the NIO manager told me actually last year, and that really blew my mind as well. But maybe I'll share that with you guys sometime in the future, maybe not, but that conspiracy theory is pretty deep. I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate and slack from the Dreaming Hype Boys, but you know, this is just the reality here in China. I wish it were different. just like you guys. I wish it was like what you guys are dreaming of, but it's just the reality here in China. In my next video, we'll talk about the future outlook and some of the really nice stuff that the NIO manager told me about. Boom. That's going to be a juicy video, guys. Stay safe, stay healthy. Peace out.